Luke storypt1's testimony. Alright, where do I begin? I was born and raised in a Christian family house. I was actually raised up in a Christian church throughout all my life. I never quite been the good child from the start. Every so often I would get in trouble, which is a typical youth. I remember about 12 years old, I met a girl who became very central for my life. We'd known each other for several years. After that, it was actually 1993, around the fall, where we were hanging out, and she was already been introduced into Wicca, and from there, or the occult, whatever you want to use, and me and her, we began to use some stuff. The fall of, actually the winter of 2000, it was about right before Christmas of 1993, was that Sunday that would change my life. We were in her room. She called me up, and I came over. I was in her room, and we actually did some stuff, and from there it was actually tore us apart in terms of our friendship and everything. Her life went into one direction, downward spiral, and mine went to another area. But it was that very moment that God kind of came in and kind of put his hand around me and gave me a kind of comfort, but yet I had a lot of anger, a lot of resentment towards everything. It was actually January of 1994, where I went through a baptism of the Holy Spirit one night when I was just listening to music, praying, and doing whatever I was doing. And it was actually the month after, probably about February, when I was in this church, and there was a girl there that was brand new to Christianity, but she had a lot of spiritual baggage. What I mean was, she was the essential key to part of my life's work. I'm only 30 years old, but at the time I didn't knew it or understood anything. But her and two other people in that church gave me a clue on what God was trying to say. But since nobody really told me about the baptism of the Holy Spirit or anything of it, other besides God's holiness of loving and kindness and peacefulness and everything didn't quite happen. The other thing is, it was 1996. I came across this other girl who happened to be a Christian / Catholic. We were hanging out, and she became my girlfriend, and she was also into some of the spiritual stuff. So me and her, we did some stuff together, which I don't do anymore, thank God. But she was also another part of my key. I was actually, I'm fast forward now to about maybe October of 2000, somewhere around that time. I was in school for architecture, working for Radio Shack, and I was working at this one store where a lady kind of came in, and she was psychic, and she told me that this girl that I was with, the one I was telling you from 1996, was holding me back, and from there I was going to break up with her, and another girl, which would become a very important girl to my life, which is still to this day. I love her still to this day, and would come into my life. So by the time I broke up, a couple months after, seeing what was going on, and from there it became 2001, September, I remember right in Lyndhurst, New Jersey, Blockbuster opened up, and I started going there. It's just to rent movies, but I seen this attractive woman, and she was about the same age as me. We spoke once in a blue moon or whatever, but nothing really concrete. It was also in that period of time I was going to go to school for architecture and stuff that was going to happen, and stuff was happening in my life. And from there, December 25th, 1991, me and this girl from from Blockbuster, we began to speak, and her name happens to be Tabitha. And for a couple of weeks, she kind of avoided me, but yet we really began to hang out in 2001. Actually, I'm sorry, 2002. During my winter break, we constantly seen each other. We hanged out and everything. Let me fast forward to 2003 now. Me and Tabitha were together. We're pretty much partners between everything. We have a deep relationship and a friendship, but mostly on a friendship type of basis. We've known each other since then. So, and today this year is actually 2008. Alright, so 2003 comes, and I stopped going to church for quite some time during my dark year of all the stuff that was going on, getting arrested. I'm not going to get involved with that part. But what I think I do want to emphasize is that I was in that period of time, I was going to this church in Kearney, and I was with the youth and all these other people. The youth pastor of the church was telling me, you need to hang out with this one guy and help this guy, but I didn't have the foundation like I have now. Alright, so for a couple months I was helping him out, he was helping me out. Me and Tabitha were not with each other at that time. She had her own problems that she had to deal with, and then God kind of put her in my life for a very short period of time. And then from there, she had to go over to her thing. And then I felt really dark. Presence kind of came over me, and I went through a dark spell. And I figured I could just drop everything and just move out to Brooklyn to apply for Pratt Institute for architecture to get back into it. They say if you just leave your palms right behind you, that everything will be okay. Well, guess what? Nothing happened. It was in that period when I was applying for Pratt Institute that I got arrested because of some stuff, and I decided, you know what, I gotta get my life. I prayed to God, and he told me to go to speak to this pastor, and I spoke to this pastor in Kearney, and he said, I know a place called Raymar Rehab. I said, you know what, and I did some of my homework and found out that anytime somebody gets arrested for certain problems, you can go to rehab to get it expunged, or they'll reverse the charges or whatever, in good faith, hopefully. Well, to make a part of the story short, and during that period of time, I went to Raymar in Austin, Texas, and from there, it was 3 days after that, being down there, that I went to the ranch, and that was when God kind of got hold of me, in the sense that He had me in the right spot in the right time to release all my anger that I had deep within for several years. What I can say is, you ever been to a movie theater where you actually stood